One of the things which is exciting, but also challenging about UX is that it's taught, practiced, and spoken of differently by different people. So the first thing we're going to do is align on some key ideas and terminology so that we're all on the same page as we dive into the course material. The first thing we can do is just quickly recap what it is and why it's important. This will be extremely useful in social engagements because it's often a challenge to explain what we do to civilians. So if we look at the question of what is UX, we can start by answering that. Everything has an experience. And no matter how awesome an idea or product may seem to be, if that experience is bad, the business will fail. You or your client can think you have the best idea ever. You can think it's amazing. But if you don't provide a great experience to your users and they don't get on board and adopt it, then unfortunately you're stuck with an ugly baby. You love it, but no one else does. Great user experiences, on the other hand, can make a business successful and increase that success. But beyond saving and generating money, they also save time. So this is kind of an interesting idea. If you think about the fact that 10% of the population of Earth has computer access, if they're frustrated for 2 minutes a day, say there's something they need to do that's not fun or easy or intuitive, that's 2,663 years of time that is lost or spent pissing people off a day. That's a lot of lost time, and it's also a lost resource. In my humble opinion, the fact that you're here studying UX, taking steps towards conserving some of that resource, makes you a pretty cool person. So please pat yourself on the back. But in addition to saving time, as UX people, we have the potential to make people happy. Another reason UX is great is that as a UX person, your work can have real impact. Not only can you help businesses succeed, but you also have the power to give people back their time, make their lives a little bit easier, and even occasionally make them happy, which is pretty awesome. Do you remember the Zappos flying cat who comes out when you add things to your cart? Does that make you happy? That makes me happy. Anyway, okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about why UX is important, let's talk a little bit about what it actually is. When we talk about defining UX, we're really talking about two questions. This is user experience. This is what it's all about. Figuring out what something does and how it feels to use it. Do is more strategic, more about definition, and feel is more qualitative and more about design. Everything you do as a user experience designer is in service of answering these two questions. But when we look at this field, it can get confusing and frankly frustrating. And this is because there are so many different terms which are used. So let's address this for a minute so it won't annoy us later, and most importantly, so you'll be equipped to confidently handle the situation when someone turns on the fire hose of terms in a conversation, interview, meeting, or the occasional dinner party. Okay, so let's look at this for a minute so you can respond with grace and help people easily understand what you do. These are some of the terms you may hear floating around related to UX. One takeaway here is that there are a lot of parts you can specialize in. But these are the two which have the most currency in the field. User experience, surprise, and interaction design. In a minute, we'll talk about how they relate to projects, but for now, the assertion we're making is that UX and its biggest baby, interaction design, really encompass all of this. So UX encompasses interaction design and is generally more strategic and broader than everything else. Interaction design is a component of UX where you're actually doing stuff and making things. It's more tactical and generally comes a bit later after you have your big goals nailed down. You may hear these terms too. These are both part of UX as well. Usability, or user testing as we'll refer to it, is a valuable tool for getting insights from users to inform your strategy, goals, and designs. Information architecture is important because every great experience has a well-defined structure. When you think about information architecture, the most common thing that will usually come up is an experience map or sitemap. But fortunately for all of us, we're not going to get all academic in this course. The purpose of this quick language overview is just to give you some armor for any terminology-centric situations you may find yourself in, and for us to have some alignment on these terms as we discuss them throughout the class. For the rest of the course, we're going to be looking at UX in context and focusing on how to apply UX in the real world.